Washington South.
And what about from Washington? I am in a situation with a massive possible hijack.
So well, I'm looking good. I just want you to know I absolutely love you. I want you to do good. Go have a good time. Same to my parents and everybody. I just totally love you and hope you're way together. Bye, babe.
9/11. Hard to believe it's been 19 years already. 9/11 has affected every man, woman, and child on the planet. But it's been much more personal for some of us than it has been for most. I was there day one, responding to the Pentagon, going in, setting up security perimeters, and ultimately going in and removing remains. I then took the fight to our enemy in the wars that followed. And I still fight my demons in my head every day. And now, through our nonprofits and our outreach, I continue to try to help others like me fight their demons as well. From the day that I responded to that plane hitting the Pentagon, and I pulled my countrymen's remains out of that rubble, I knew that life would never be the same. When I carried Donald Simmons out of that building, with a tear in my eye, sure to look away so that my men wouldn't see me cry. As I sat and I listened, as hope drained out of the widow's tent with every sob that they cried, knowing that we weren't going to pull their loved one out alive. It wasn't the remains that were heartbreaking. What was most heartbreaking was finding the proof of the life that was lost and shattered beyond just those that had been killed in the horrible attacks. It was finding the seatbelts. It was finding the wallets, money in them, credit cards. It was finding the birthday cards. It was finding the stuffed animals and knowing that there were mothers and fathers who wouldn't see their sons and daughters. Knowing that there were sons and daughters who would never see daddy walk back home. Where were they going, I wonder? What sea of possibilities laid out before them when they got up that morning, completely oblivious that today was going to be their last day? How many people said in a futile effort to forces that were beyond their control, have a safe flight? How many people went to work that day with desires to make a difference, to make an impact, but a stronger desire to return to loving arms at night? How many of them never walked back home? How many of them never walked back in that door? How many firefighters climbed the stairway through heaven through a wall of fire and hell? How many looked up at those towers that were on fire and knew in their hearts that they weren't going to come back out, but they made the walk anyway? How many houses, entire firehouses, decimated, lost, gone when those towers fell? How many first responders across the U.S. that day that drove to the towers in New York, that went to the field in Pennsylvania, and those that were with me that went to the Pentagon, hoping that we would find a way to save everyone? Well, what about the soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines who vowed to take the fight to the enemy, all in an effort to ensure that never again would an attack of this magnitude take place on our soil? Our men and women fought them on horses, fought them in tanks, in planes, ships, and on their feet as they patrolled the streets and the caves and the hillsides. Despite all that it has cost us, all the lives lost, all the demons that we brought back, the friends that we no longer have with us, we kept our promise. But sometimes it feels like America didn't keep hers. 9/11 gets tossed around in casual conversation as if it was some event that took place in a movie. It took place in a parallel universe, not the one in which we live, not the one in which people still have to look at the graves of those that they loved. Today in the streets, we burn the very flag that we waved on that day. We've lost the unity that followed that tragic event. We have forgotten that we are not enemies, but friends. For better or worse, we're in this together. But if we take the time to pause, to reflect on the enormity of that day, and the days that followed in the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, as well as the hundreds of thousands of soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines who have taken their own lives, and the first responders who have died from exposure, we will see ourselves, and more importantly, we will see our loved ones in their eyes. Every religion, every creed, every color has fought, bled, and died for you and me since that day. That day we were all in it together. We were better than the hate and the division that has spilt over into our streets. That is how I know we are not honoring our promise to never forget. If we were honoring that promise, we would not see each other as enemies. We would see each other as brothers and sisters under one common banner. And we would work together in unison to address the issues that need to be fixed in our country today. That is how I know we are not honoring that promise to remember. I need you. The country needs you to remember. It has been said that it hurts to remember, but it hurts so much more to forget. And our nation is feeling that intense pain of forgetting right now. I know I will never, ever forget September 11th. And here today, I challenge you to take a walk back in history and don't look at just the big numbers of lives lost. Go through and find one individual story. Find one Staff Sergeant Robert Hernandez. Find one Donald Simmons and learn their story. See their life reflected in yours. And if you do that, when you make it personal, when you make it your brother, your sister, your mother, your father that was lost on that fateful day, you'll be just like me, and you'll never forget as well.